Does a real tabletop gamer, someone who truly loves this hobby, pay to play? Many wonder if hiring a professional game master for your next one shot or campaign is just selling out or simply wasting money. And I'll be honest with you all, this was something I was adamantly against. When I first started playing tabletop role playing games, I would have never paid a professional GM to do something that I felt I could do pretty darn good on my own. But in this episode, we are welcoming back David Northeast, a professional GM himself, to explore these questions and shed light on the growing trend of paid game mastering. And if after the episode you're still unsure whether to hire a professional GM or to do it yourself, go ahead and click on the link in the show notes. We have a free quiz called Should I Pay for a Pro GM? Just answer a few easy questions and you'll have clear direction on which way you should go. Welcome to Claim to Game. We help tabletop gamers have a great time with friends to experience amazing stories. It can be overwhelming to start and run great games. Let's make it easy for you to play any game that you want to have fun with your friends. I'm Clint.scheirer. I've helped thousands of students in my career find their way to better themselves and better their game. With more than 10 years experience in leadership, coaching, live performance, and public speaking, I know I can help you create immersive, low-stress games you'll never forget. It's time to make your claim to game. What's something you've been dying to tell people? What is something you've been dying to tell people that you think is so important? And for those listeners who want to enjoy fantastic, authentic worlds with deep characters, and they may not feel confident being VGM or DM if they're playing D&D, what would you say to them about the value of hiring a professional game master? How does a professional world building connoisseur, I would say, like you savor what you're creating here. How does somebody hiring someone like you contribute to just a fantastic experience?
I will preface again by saying that if you're not ready to GM, that's absolutely fine. If you have a group of friends and you want to go GM-less, do it, try it, play hot seat GM, have a seat swapper and people taking over that seat all the time. I advocate for free games as much as I do for paid games. And that sounds weird because I'm a professional GM. What do I mean by that? Well, if you are an individual in a group of friends and you want to play D&D, go and play D&D with your friends and try your hand at GMing. Just do it. Don't think too much about it. Don't worry about, I can't do the silly voices, or what if I don't have enough prep time? If you don't have enough prep time, grab the book and throw it over your shoulder and go, we're going to improvise this entire thing. What do you think about that, boys? But obviously I get there's a level of apprehension there. If you are a group of players, and this is one that really grinds my goat, if you are a group of 5 or 6 players and you come online and you go, we want this very specific campaign run for us in this very specific way, will you DM for us for free? Well, the answer that you will find from most DMs is no. Even the people willing to run games for free online is going to be no, and I'll tell you why. There are already 6 of you. You already have a really good idea as to what you want to run, and the question is, why aren't one of you giving it a go? Now, not everyone is adept at being a GM. Not everyone suits being a GM, just like not everyone suits being a player. I know GMs that refuse to play because they just cannot get in that player mindset. If you want to go and hire a professional GM, ask them questions. You are hiring them for a service. Don't just jump into the first game you see and you think, I like the sound of that. Really go into depth. Ask for their experience. Ask for proof of their experience. Ask for video recordings. Ask for audio recordings. Ask for, anything that they can give you to prove to you they are worth their buck. Because I know there are also people out there that are professional GMs that are advertising their services for hire, but they are just reading from a book. And this is the problem that I'm facing as a professional GM who actually cares about what I'm doing, who cares about the effort that I put in. And, I'm in the process of writing my own materials. You really, really do need to vet GMs as much as DMs need to vet you. You can offer to run a game for free online. It's really not that expensive. There are services and products out there that will allow you to do it. And the worst case scenario is you do it theatre of the mind and make it up as you go. There are free dice rolling apps and all that kind of stuff on Discord. Just do it, is my advice. If you want to hire a GM, fantastic, but vet them first. Make sure you know you're getting the bang for your buck.
Something that I have never had the opportunity to do is to play with a professional GM. And just talking to you right now in this episode and also the previous one, it is very clear why you would call it a craft. Like, this is not just somebody telling a funny story or doing funny voices. It's somebody who is really giving thought to breathing life into the world. And if you haven't gone back, go ahead and listen to when David and I talked about world building back in the previous episode. It's crucial. It's crucial to have somebody who knows what they're doing. I think I said before we started, I would not try to do my own plumbing in my house and expect it to, one, function correctly and not have a leak. I would ask a professional to come in and do it. So if that's the kind of experience you want, you need to pay professional experience. If you want the potentially leaky problem that you might get, or you're just okay with, not that top grade tier, totally fine.
I think I prefer the analogy of the restaurant and the home chef.
Ooh, give it to me.
So if you want to run your own game, it is like you inviting your friends over for a dinner party. You don't have any professional experience in the kitchen, but you know how to follow a recipe. You can get the ingredients in, you can chop them up, you can throw them in a frying pan, you can throw it all together and bring out a reasonable dish. I've known some fantastic home cooks in my time. One of them's laying upstairs, but don't tell her I said that. But I've known some fantastic home cooks in my time. And, a dinner party and those sorts of things is nice, but you still have to put in that effort to go and cook the meal, prep the meal, make sure you've got all the ingredients, make sure that you've got everything that you need to present a meal for a dinner party. Versus the restaurant where you phone up, you book a table for 6, you all go along, none of you are worrying about the dishes, none of you are worrying about the cooking, you're just ordering a nice meal and a drink. But that nice meal and a drink is coming at an extra cost because there is extra hands at play in order to get all those extra jobs done that need to be done. And I think that is the key difference between a group of friends playing D&D and hiring a professional GM to run a D&D game for you.
Yeah, I mean, you really answered the question. This was one of the first questions I was going to ask to try to dig into this stigma, right? There's a stigma that sometimes is around paying somebody to be your professional GM. And the question was, why would I pay somebody to do it when I could do it myself for free or have a friend who's willing to do it? And you're saying it is the difference between a home-cooked meal, which can be good and enjoyable, and a professionally made meal, which is just a wonderful experience that you may not do every single time.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I have another question. A gamer, this comes up quite a bit. A gamer should GM for the love of the game, not for monetary gain. If they want money, they're selling out. Well, okay. What is your rebuttal? I'm going to ask you to give a rebuttal to some of these questions. What would you say to somebody that said you're selling out?
So, okay, I just turn around to them and say to them, do they pay an Xbox Live subscription? Do they pay a PlayStation Network subscription? Do they pay a Netflix subscription? Do they pay a Disney subscription? Because you can watch the free channels on the TV. The free channels are there, why pay? But the other point about that is, if I love what I do and I can't commit that time freely, why am I going to do that whilst holding down, say, a quote-unquote proper job? Why am I going to do that, have another job, and try and run a really high-quality game just because I love doing it? I'm a family man. I've got children, I've got a partner, I've got a life outside of D&D and outside of what I do. If I was to work and to have games to the same level of quality that I do now, I'd be running one game a week because of the hours that I put into my games. Now, I only consider my hourly rate as the actual game that I run, and I work it out to be about £20 per hour of the game that is actually run. But if I break it down, it actually comes down to about 6 or 7 GBP per hour, which is well under minimum wage. But that's because I enjoy the world building aspect, and a lot of the world building stuff can be reused. A lot of the storytelling tools can be reused and recycled later on for other campaigns. On top of that, there is no such thing as a free D&D game. There is no such thing as a free TTRPG game. Yes, the rules for the game are free online. The rules, you can play with just dice and a piece of paper. That is totally true. You can play for free. What do I mean by there's no such thing as a free D&D game? Well, somebody has to host. Likely, people are going to want snacks. So someone's going to bring snacks, or you're all going to contribute snacks. So you're all paying something there. If you're playing in a shop, normally shops have a fee for a table. So you will have to pay a fee for the table. If you want to use the official materials or unofficial materials even, quite often you have to purchase those in order to use them. Then we get into the extras that I, as a professional GM, use. Sirenscape. That is about $20 a month. I have bought over £2,000 worth, which works out to be
good luck.
About $2,600 worth of modules and extra stuff for my VTT, which is Fantasy Grounds. I invest in other projects that I'm working on as well. So I'm working on releasing I mentioned it in the last episode, I'm working on releasing my own supplements for D&D and for 5e. And I'm paying an artist for that. And, all this, it's helping fund that, but the majority of my money goes back into my business, back into running games for people. Yes, you can run D&D for free, but the quality is going to be far less than if you've got the really cool soundboards, if you've got really cool visuals, if you're playing online, if you've got good quality equipment such as microphone and camera. It's really, really going to make a difference.
So it's not just for money. It is because you want the quality to be the level that you want it to be. You have to be able to be paid for the time that you're putting into that, especially when you have other responsibilities that you have in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've seen some fantastic GMs run games for free online, but I have horror stories, but that's something for another day, I feel.
Well, dude, props to you. Like this is it's really giving me a different view of this profession and the respect. And it's really awesome. I know that I am definitely of the free sort. I'm making home cooked meals kind of games for people. And I feel like I'm missing out. I got to get that cuisine, that fine dining experience of GMing, or maybe not me GMing, but me being a player in a GM'd game. There's one final question, and I'm sure it'll lead to some other questions, but professional GMing, this is the statement. Professional GMing is financially gatekeeping the game from those who can't afford it. What do you have to say to that? Hey, quick pause in the episode. Have you ever wanted to chat about tabletop RPGs or share your unique insights or just geek out about tabletop games with someone who gets it? Now's your chance. I'm opening up guest spots on the Claim to Game podcast, and I'd love to feature you. Are you working on some exciting project? Do you have a fresh take on running or playing games? Or do you just want to help others have an amazing time at the table? Let's make it happen. If you've got a mic, stable internet, and a passion for great games, claim your spot on a future interview by clicking on the link in the show notes to book your interview now. Let's talk about tabletop RPGs and make something awesome together. Can't wait to hear from you. All right, back to the episode.
So this is where the conversation for me gets difficult, because I can relate. I can massively relate to this issue. However, it's not financially gatekeeping the game. As I said, the game is playable for free. You can go and do it for free. Unfortunately, it just means there is going to be a lower level of quality to the game. And I don't mean that in a condescending or patronizing way. What I mean is you're not going to have all the bells and whistles to the game. You're not going to have the soundboards. You're not going to have very, very specific audios. You can go, if you're running a game for free at home, you can load up YouTube on a laptop and play music, but you're going to have adverts every 30 minutes, and that there's always going to be bits and bobs, and eventually you'll find that you start wanting to invest. In terms of saying that professional GMing is gatekeeping, I feel that it's an unfair, it's very, very much an unfair review of what professional GMing actually is, or what it should be, I should say. Because professional GMing is trying to take yourself to that next level, to that extra fine dining. Again, going back to the restaurants. It's like saying that because people can't eat at a 5 Michelin star restaurant, it's gatekeeping food,
I'm laughing because it is kind of a silly argument, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same kind of concept. I understand that it's becoming increasingly more difficult to find a good DM for free online. But that's because those free DMs are fed up and bored of having to wade through piles and piles of toxic and bad players in order to find the quality of game they want to run. And I have to say that I had the same issue. I used to be of the mind that why would I pay for a game? Why should I pay for a game? And after being nearly driven out of this hobby, I think on 3 separate occasions due to online GMs, and 1 due to online players. And, I was running a game, I was trying to stream it and, try and really build something from it. And I said, guys, if this makes money, if we get known, I will compensate you. So I made that very clear to them. But unfortunately, I had 3 rotating seats at that table for the best part of 6 months. And I think most people can relate to that experience, especially running games online for free. And again, run games for free for your friends by all means. but running games online for strangers, you have to be more careful when you're doing that as a GM, because you will find yourself in all kinds of unsavory situations, as I have on many occasions.
What other objections have you heard? I'm sure you've heard it all. Like, I'm sure all of it has come to your table at least one time or another, at least in social.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some weird ones. I had one guy turn around and say, "I'm not going to pay you because you're British."
That would be a great reason for me to want to pay you. Your accent is awesome, man.
Oh, don't. I sound like I'm from Eton, but really I'm from the backwaters.
That's awesome. No, you're all good.
What other objections have I had? I mean, there's a whole host of reasons. Obviously, one of them is, I'm sorry, I just can't afford it, which is a fair enough objection. There's not much you can do or say. I would say if you're a professional GM and you have a conversation with somebody and it's a really, really good conversation, you're really, really confident about this individual, use them as a seat filler. Use them as somebody to join your game to show that people are interested in your games, because the hardest point as a professional GM is getting first two players. The first two players are always the most difficult. If you can offer one of these players a seat filler position, a seat filler doesn't even have to be permanent, and you can explain that to them. You can say to them that, come along and play, just for a little while, until I fill up the rest of the table. And if I fill up the rest of the table, you understand that, we'll put your character to the side for a moment just to see if I can get another paid seat filled. And a lot of people are willing to do that and, be that seat filler.
I think what's cool is, offering somebody a seat to fill the position. It's providing social proof of your expertise. And that's kind of worth its weight in money for people to be able to vouch for your expertise. So I think that's really, it's a type of reciprocity, I think is the word, right? You're giving something because it's not just to get something back, but it's knowing that goodwill will come back.
It can go a long
way. Yeah, kind of a karma.
I mean, I've had players that have left because they've fallen on hard times, and they've, I've said to them, rather than leave, let's just zero your session costs just for a few weeks. We'll see how things change in the next couple of months. If things pick up, let me know and we'll keep you on. And, giving them that couple of months breathing space sometimes is just enough to keep those players on that have fallen on hard times, or, perhaps they've lost their job and they've been a really consistent, really good player and you want to keep them on. So why wouldn't you keep them on, especially if they're vibing with the rest of the group? I've known players to turn around if someone has been, open and honest enough and said, I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to drop. I just can't afford this campaign anymore, in front of the group, which has happened a few times, not to me personally, but I know it's happened. The rest of the group sometimes will turn around and go, we want to cover their costs.
Oh, that's awesome.
I will tell you a quick story. I was just scrolling around online and looking at the players looking for DMs, posts and things. And I came across one, and it was somebody looking for a DM for their group of 6, at the time it was 6 players. And they had explained that they had not had a good time with 2 other DMs. 2 previous DMs had really made it hard for them. They had, allowed metagaming at the table, had allowed conversations that should never have occurred, and these kinds of things. And I reached out to them again, hey, can I know exactly what you guys are looking for? What sort of game are you looking for? What kind of DM are you looking for? And they explained to me about their problem. I went through my usual garb of who I am, what I do, and what I bring to the table. And in the end, this person felt, because 2 of the other players were brand new to the game, absolutely brand new to D&D, this individual decided she's going to pay for the whole table. And I was just like, do you know what? That is such a kind thing to do. That is such a, I want to give my friends a really good experience of D&D. Let's go with this, because she'd watched all my YouTube videos, all my Twitch videos, my TikTok streams for like 2 weeks. She'd been watching them and doing her research. And when it came down to when she said that, I was like, okay, fantastic. And she'd already expressed interest in another one of my games. And she said she couldn't do it if she took up the like full table of people, as it were. And I turned around to her and said, what are you talking about? I said, I'm not going to charge you for that seat at that table. You know, you're doing a good deed, so I'm going to do something for you. I'm going to give you a seat at another table completely for free that's a weekly campaign rather than a monthly one, alongside what you're paying for.
The word that encapsulates everything that we've been talking about is integrity, right? Like, you are a GM who has integrity, and you are fostering integrity at your table. That's beautiful. And I think that encapsulates this hobby.
Yes.
There are so many wonderful people in this community who just pour out their support, their encouragement. You can do this, like, play the game, go get the book, play free, see how it is. Play with a professional GM. You'll love it. And that is awesome. So dude, that's something I hope you continue to foster, because we need more good people showing how great this hobby is and how people can really love it. Worlds were meant to be explored, meant to be created, meant to come into their own. And people like you are helping us do it. So I guess my gratitude is thank you for doing that. That's just so cool. For those of you guys who did not listen to last week's episode, David was talking about world building and how players are so important. And first, David, you started talking about how NPCs are a vital part of the world building, and so are players. And what you suggested about letting somebody stay on a couple more sessions, maybe, not charging just to see where they're at, you are technically keeping the world intact, because to lose even that player's imaginary character would be losing a part of the world that was created. That world is being, it's a little less colorful than it was before if that person's not at the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially when it's somebody that you've had at the table for a while. If it's somebody that's jumped in for a couple of sessions and then sort of said, I've fallen on hard times, you can make a judgment call. Sometimes you get a feeling that perhaps that isn't really the issue and there's something they just don't want to talk about, and you sort of just let them go and you write their character out and whatever else you have to do. The other alternative is, if you get a really good feeling about somebody, if they've been with you for a long time, then giving them that bit of leeway sometimes, because especially if they've paid regularly, they haven't missed payments, they're not late or anything like that, giving them leeway is sometimes just the right thing to do, because they've more than earned that level of reasonable accommodation that you should give them. And also, you don't want to lose those players, the ones that have been with you for, even 6 months, even 2 or 3 months, if they are really consistent and really engaging. You don't want to lose those players. And even as a professional GM, sometimes you have to cut your losses and go, do you know what? Let's keep this player, because if I lose this player, I'm likely to lose this player, and it's going to chain onto this player. And sometimes you have to keep it, try and keep the party together where you possibly can. Obviously, there are times you can't avoid it. People's lives change, their work schedule changes, and all this sort of stuff, and you just have to chug along. But yeah, from a GM perspective, you have to look after your players. I think it was, what's his name? The guy who owns Virgin, the Virgin companies.
Sir Richard Branson.
Sir Richard Branson said it best when it came to his workers. Teach them well enough that they can leave if they want to. Treat them well enough so they don't want to.
The term "don't split the party," I think, has multiple meanings here.
Yeah.
right? For those who play D&D, not splitting the party usually prevents life, right? The characters survive to live another day. And what you're talking about is preventing a group's life from diminishing.
Yeah, keeping them together as much as humanly possible is always going to be in the best interest of any professional GM.
Well, David, just like last time, I'm going to have you create that 10-word phrase to help people get the core of the message that you live and breathe when it comes to professional GMing. What do you want them to leave with? What do you want our listener to leave with?
A home-cooked meal is fine. To dine fine costs.
Oh, that is poetry. And that goes right back to your analogy that you talked about, the difference between running a game for free and asking a professional GM to do it.
Yes. I think that really highlights that.
Yeah, that was so... Don't delete that. You need to put that on a shirt. That should be your calling card.
But honestly, that is the English literature student coming out in me unintentionally.
But dude, this is so great. Yeah, I hope that people give it a try. My cousin Andy, and nobody knew that he was my cousin when he did the episode with me. I can't remember the episode number, but he and his master class that he was taking, he was getting his master's. They paid for a professional GM.
Yep.
And it's what got him into the hobby.
Right.
Now, without that experience, I don't know if he would be as interested about D&D or any of it. So you guys definitely do good work in the world. Here's my final question. It's the quintessential podcast question. Whenever you finish, where can people find you, David? Where can they get connected? Where do you want them to connect with you?
So there are loads. So get pens and papers ready. If you want to find me on TikTok, it is at @thecaptain91. If you want to find me on Twitch, it is SS Adventurer, twitch.tv/SS Adventurer. If you want to find me on YouTube, it's youtube.com/SS Adventurer Productions. They are my three main ones. Blue Sky Socials, I am the Captain91, and I think on X I am SS Adventurer, but don't worry, I'm not on X all that much.
Well, dude, I will make sure that you are available, because I'm sure some people are going to love what you have, love what you're doing. Thank you for connecting to me, connecting with me. Thanks again.
Thank you very, very much for having me on board. And also, if you are looking for any professional games, you can find me on startplaying.games/GM/SS Adventurer. However, you don't just have to come and find me. There are many, many, many other great professional GMs on Start Playing's servers. Feel free to browse, and I hope to see at least someone come and join us.
Thanks again, David, and join us next time as we find the best ways to have great times with friends and experience amazing stories through tabletop role-playing. And don't forget to access your free Should I Pay for a Pro GM quiz. Answer a few easy questions and have a clear direction on GMing yourself or hiring a GM. I mean, even if you're like I was and you were dead set on never paying to play, take the quiz. You may find out paying a pro is the way to go. And may you keep having fun as we continue to make our claim to game.